What is digital transformation? What are some of the trends in digital transformation, and how do you think this is shaping the future of TA? This is what we look at in this segment, and in conversation with me are leaders from our industry. Let's get a conversation started by getting to know each of our panelists a little better. Over to you, Prasad.
Thanks, Jomi. Great to be here. My name is Prasad, and I lead recruiting for Uber for India and Philippines.
Hi, thanks Jomi for having us here. My name is Jagadamba, been with Diageo for about 18 months now. I had talent acquisition for DBSI in Bangalore and Manila.
I'm Sarang Brahme. I'm part of Capgemini and lead our social recruiting and employer branding strategy globally.
Awesome. I see we have a great mix and a variety of industries represented here. Let's dive right in. To kick this off, I'd love to hear from each of you. What does digital transformation mean for you? Maybe Prasad, you can go first.
To get to what is digital transformation, we also need to understand how the market is changing in the last few years. As an estimate, there are close to around 5 billion people who will get on the internet by end of 2020, and with most of them on a handheld device. What it also means is there is an increasing demand by these guys as customers on what they want to consume through technology. And the organizations are also continuously looking to disrupt what they're offering to customers by leveraging technology. So digital transformation is an organizational approach to change, right? It enables these companies to be agile and make data-driven decisions, which in turn helps them to optimize and some of the core business processes that they are currently offering to their customers or the users.
So I agree with what Prasad is saying. Just to give you a small example, when the dot-com boom happened in probably 90s, and I relate to it because I've been with Flipkart and with Target. So organizations in retail put their consumers in the middle of the transformation, right? And then around that, they started to probably innovate a lot of things in terms of customers, in terms of end users, and how is the behavior transformed. So that is simplistically put in what is digital transformation. It's more in getting ahead of current technologies and future challenges that we would probably incur.
Great.
That's what
Sarang, I know you come from a employer branding background, so I'd love to hear what does it mean for you.
Thanks to digital transformation and all of the buzz, we are really putting the customer or candidate into the middle of everything. And that for me builds the experience-led recruitment rather than the process-led recruitment. So I think again, experience is important. Again, I think we spoke about data and insights.
Yeah.
For first time, we are getting those data and insights where we are driving the business decisions and not the other way around, because we understand the market much better than the hiring managers. And lastly is again whole topic around AI, ML, is how do we get away from the transactional work in recruitment and really do the best thing that human does, which is human interaction, and let the machine take care of all other operational stuff.
Awesome. So I see some themes around data and insights, AI, ML, etc. Let's take a deeper dive into it, and maybe this is something that I'll ask you, Prasad. What are some of the real innovations in talent acquisition, say Uber has done in the last 12 to 18 months or so? I know you're like no longer a startup, a bigger organization, and you've like blitzed through the industry and grown at a rapid pace. So, and I'm sure technology has come in handy here. So I'd love to hear what are some of the innovations that you've done in the talent acquisition space?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would say I'm very fortunate to be in a place like Uber, which is constantly experimenting with a lot of new technology and products. One, because the nature of the business is so agile and we are expected to be always on our toes to be on par with the pace at which the business is evolving. It has given us an opportunity to experiment with a whole lot of tools and technologies that is there in the market. Very specific to recruiting, I currently see us experimenting with tools or products that is embedded with artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms, which is primarily working on some of our existing systems, like an application tracking system. As both Sarang and Jax would agree with me, today it's a challenge of plenty, right? So there's so much of chaos out there in terms of the number of applications that come into our database, and recruiters have very little time to actually go through each and every resume. Now we are looking at AI and ML that is going to help us fast track on screening some of these resumes much faster. That's on the application tracking side, but we are also looking at various assessment platforms. Today, we are experimenting with platforms that could give us the ability to assess or probably do a psychometric assessments on most of our candidates, especially on candidates who are going to come and do customer facing roles. Then we have technologies that will help us assess the coding abilities which are there in the market today, and we're experimenting with many of those tools. We are also experimenting with a platform that will help us or our employees or recruiters up level their overall learning. It could be the LinkedIn learning tool, or it could be another competitive tool out there in the market. But what is changing for Uber is we are now open to having specific regions experiment with different set of tools, and then look at what is the best case or the best use case to scale that particular investment to a global product.
Awesome.
Did I-
Applicants, ATS. I'm sure Capgemini deals with a lot of applicants. What are some of the things that Cap has done in the recent past?
Yeah, so again, Capgemini as a business has evolved in last 50 years. We like to believe we are still startup at the heart, but obviously grown and being agile in last 50 years. For us, as he mentioned again, specifically for India, is a problem of plenty. But again, it's not just a problem of plenty, but the right candidate at the right time at the right place. So again, we hire over 50,000 people globally, half of them in India. If you multiply that with the number of applications we get, it's really crazy. And obviously, we can't have recruiters sifting through CVs and doing the operational work. So we recently have been experimenting with AI sourcing tool, which again sits on top of our recruitment system to help us match the candidates better in terms of job descriptions to the candidate talent pipeline. In past, our recruiters have been spending a lot of time in manually sourcing and shifting and screening the CVs. Again, we have kind of get away from that to help them focus on what they do best, which is candidate relationship, engagement, working with the business stakeholders. So again, by doing that, we have been able to improve our the screening or the selection ratio. So our level 1 to level 2 interview or success has been up to 35%. That also means we have been able to give back a lot of time back to the business. Previously they were doing more interviews, but today we give them a very shortlisted, very quality set of CVs in a less time, so that again they can their billable time and the weekend drives and all of that, where candidates may not have the best experience, we're able to cut down all of that into a very specific process. So again, for us, the matching bit, again, that tool has given us an enormous ability to look at the skill factorials, as we say. So we are able to go back to the business and say, hey, these are the people that we have. You wanted 15 skills. We have great candidates who have 10 skills. Is there a way to work with the business and say, can we look at a different skill sets and what kind of talent pools that we have? So again, that has given us a really good edge. And also for our recruiters, as I said, have them to focus on what they do best.
We're talking about technology, but all of this is about people at the end of the day. So how do you leverage some of your employees?
Capgemini, its people matter, results count. For us, our people are the best brand ambassadors. We don't spend billions of dollars into advertising, but it's really bringing authenticity and transparency to the work. So if you just go on LinkedIn or Twitter and type life at Capgemini, you'll see tons of stories by our employees sharing the fun, sharing all the values, sharing their day-to-day experiences. Also, we do a lot of work with the employee advocacy tool as well. Reputation management tools like Glassdoor or some of the other tools where we really listen to what candidates and employees has to say, because at the end of the day, that really builds the brand. It's not about what company says. It's all about employees and candidates says.
Fantastic.
And just to add to what he's saying, there are the technology or tools to also look at biases on on the content that we share on social media. I think there's this whole platter of technologies and tools, but I think the key is using what is relevant for a specific organization.
And we've spoken about a lot of technology. So and this is something I'd love to hear from you, Jax. Like, how has all of this impacted your relationship as a talent acquisition leader? Like, we spoke about saving time, getting quality CVs. So I'd love to hear, how has this impacted your relationship with business?
So recently we came up with the visualization database that is powered by ML, wherein the hiring managers can go through the entire hiring life cycle, all of the statuses in one dashboard. Like they can just view it together.
It's more like a visual representation.
It's more like a visual representation. This actually also gives you a lot of analysis in terms of diversity and inclusion, more of how do you combat the SLAs, where are we today, all of that stuff. So when the hiring managers look at it, this will also help them in case they need to enhance something, in case they need to change their planning and forecast, or they need to relook at how they're planning to hire and all of those stuff. I think that is something that has helped us drive in a day-to-day conversations with the business, which has impacted a great deal with respect to the recruiters. The second thing that we've also implemented, which has transformed pretty much everything, which has been automated for us. So with respect to, let's say, your onboarding stuff, your offer releases, your background verification, all of those stuff, which is at the click of a button today.
Wow.
So, and also something that candidates can view it at the same time, hiring managers, recruiters, all of them can view it at the same time, saves us a lot of time, and also get the accurate status of where we are and what is happening. So we could have a healthy conversation with any of the stakeholders.
Fantastic. So I hear a couple of technology that you've implemented. So what do you usually look for in a technology to understand the impact? Like you just shared 2 examples. So we would love to hear, how do you measure the impact, and what do you really look for in a technology to see the impact?
So more in terms of Diageo, if you look at it from that perspective, I think we moved or shifted from a silos, operational driven, into probably robust, data-driven, cloud-based technologies.
Thanks, Jag. So we have seen some of the impact of technology on business. Sarang, I'd love to, while Jag just shared a lot of this with us, I'd love to see, how does Capgemini measure, or what do you really look for in a technology to see the impact?
Correct. And I think the first thing is the agility and integration standpoint. So again, with so much of new technology coming over, you don't want to have a static technology that may not last for next 3-4 years. So again, we always look at whether the technology is able to provide the integration layers from a IT standpoint, but as well as whether it's scalable as well. We hire, again, over 30,000 people. There are over 200 to 300 recruiters that use these technologies. So are these able to scale and stay at the same level of quality and efficiency from exactly sustainability standpoint? And lastly, is it smart? Is it able to give us an advantage over our previous? So our previous technology was inbound created internally. So again, is it going to give us little more insights, little more smart way of doing things, so that again we can save time and being more efficient? So
also maybe giving an advantage over Diageo and Uber as well.
Yes, we hire the same pool.
Jags, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
On this.
So I think we've moved away from the silos and operational based model into a data driven, more cloud based, focused kind of era or methodology today. So from a perspective of a candidate, I think a candidate today takes just about 2 minutes on his mobile phone to fill in his application tracker, which has helped us get in
Fantastic.
the right kind of talent inside. The second thing that has happened with respect to source metric, our internal ER, that is employee reference, has moved up to about a 40%, and our direct data pool has moved up to about a 36%. So that's a good measure for us. The third thing and the last thing that I would say is from a regular interview-based model, which is a face-to-face, which is time-consuming, people have to travel. We've moved into a technology called Zoom, wherein we have the candidates interview online, and this has saved us from a 3-week to about a 48 hours kind of a time frame, which has helped us move in faster and hire faster. I think that's something that has improved for us from a Diageo perspective.
I think as a summary, it gives so much time back to the recruiters to be more of a strategic advisor rather than being caught up in day-to-day transaction and operational work.
Awesome. And we've looked at some of the themes that a lot of our clients are doing as well, like using video technologies, looking at sustainability. So while we look at all of this, Prasad, I'd like to hear, what do you think is the next big disruption, or what is the most disruptive thing that you see coming in the next year to couple of years?
No, it's very hard to predict what technology would actually come in and disrupt. But if you look at AI as a concept, it's continuously evolving. While we are looking at some of the early wins using AI as a technology, I think there is still a lot more to accomplish by leveraging this technology. But as a concept, what we are seeing today is a whole lot of tools that are helping us eliminate candidates from the process. We are yet to see a good technology or a product which is helping us hire candidates. We are still very dependent on interviewers or the business in making those hiring decisions. I think that the future of disruptive technology in recruiting are those which is going to make interviewers independent of being those decision makers and have the recruiting organization own up some of these decisions which are foolproof and is also acceptable by the business, because eventually they are the ones who are going to consume the candidates that have been hired independently by the recruiting organization.
Also, on the other side, is it also an increase? Is there also an increasing focus on, say, the candidate experience? Because, like, as we can see, all of you are competing for the same talent.
I think it's a valid point you brought up, right? So the other key aspect that is going to be disruptive is how do you predict the candidate behaviors?
Yeah.
There is so much of data today that is available for most of the organizations through a whole lot of these products that we are using. And of course, there is data privacy and we need to be mindful of how we are going to use the data. But there are going to be patterns that will be built out of candidate behaviors so that we identify the right set of candidates for the right role. Because a lot of them who actually show up in the interviews, that is not sufficient enough for us to assess if it is the right decision we are making. It's still organizations, most of the many organizations don't get it fully right just based on the interviews. I think using the data or the predicting the data of the candidates can be extremely useful in the long run on how technologies are going to come out.
Absolutely. And how is Diageo looking at the future?
So I'd like to take one example that we've at least used. I think the next technology that was going to disrupt was, to a certain extent, I think AR and VR. Augmented reality and virtual reality,
yeah.
right? So what we did some time back is we did a VR video which made the candidate feel that they are within the premises.
Wow.
So we shot the entire video within the organization through VR. And we went through the businesses, the towers, the culture of the organization, which gives them the feel that, I think this is what Diageo is all about and this is the place that I belong or I need to join.
It's like spending a day in your office.
Correct, something similar to that. So
Yeah.
this is sent out as a link to the candidates. They can view it either through their mobile phones or through the laptop, and they can feel the organization. So the second thing that is today is blockchain. That's another disruptive technology that I think, because data there is imperative. I think that is something that might come in with respect to, let's say, background verification checks or for talent acquisition per se, because we are the ones who actually go through the entire data with respect to, let's say, offer letters, salaries, which are all something which is very pertaining to the organization, right? Which is something that we always need to keep a track of, and which is also something that is very, very confidential for the organization. So I think with blockchain, background verification check is something that I think would help blockchain with respect to keeping the data and also streamlining and reducing the time. That's something that I think would help us very soon.
Awesome. So some great themes here and a peek into what the future would look like. One of the most prominent questions and something which our entire audience across APAC would love to hear is how can they as recruiters stay relevant? So I like to bring us all home by getting your perspective on, say, what are two things that the recruiting community should do today so that they stay relevant for the future?
I think with so many tools and technology that are available for recruiters, there is so much time that recruiters have to leverage their engagement with the candidates. I think that will always remain relevant for being a successful recruiter. Like how often are we, providing updates to the candidates? How, giving them insights to the kind of technology that are being used for assessments, keeping them updated of the progress on the interviews. That is going to be very important for any recruiter to be successful in this domain, irrespective of the technology that is there in the use. The other aspect that is going to be relevant for recruiters today is to take advantage of these technology and tools by providing a lot of talent insights. I think we use LinkedIn Insights extensively, and that has really helped us build better credibility with the business.
Fantastic.
Who now look up to us as being more strategic and providing them with a lot more data-driven insights. What used to happen historically was I would go with a lot of anecdotal references because of my personal experience in the recruiting industry, which could be consumed or which could be kind of dismissed by the business because there is no data to back it up. Now with LinkedIn Talent Insights and similar tools, we are able to provide more realistic expectations on what is possible and what is not possible back to the business,
which is more like a shift to being a true talent advisor rather than
right?
rather
That's
than
exactly
just a
what
recruiter. Yeah.
we should eventually evolve into, being more of advisors rather than being there to close open positions.
Fantastic.
I think I completely agree with Prasad. And two things that I always emphasize with my recruiters is, one is data, like how you said. Data is key for talent acquisition. How do you look at the insights of the data and come up with a new analysis of what it is providing today and with all of the technologies that we're leveraging? And the second is, how do recruiters become strategic recruiters today and become more of the advisors to their business versus becoming a real doer, like how we evolved in, right, when we started off recruiting. So these are two things that I think will never die, which is something that recruiters need to always thrive on.
Sarang, why don't you bring us home? And again, I always come to you to bring a employer branding hat as well. So
I think with this change, the recruiters are now really need to become more empathetic to candidates. So they don't have just stakeholders as business, but they need to look at candidates as stakeholders as well. So how do they leverage technology to do the things that a machine or an AI can do, and really engage with the candidates to understand their pulse? At the end of the day, that's why recruiters are there, or else entire process would have been automated, right? So that's number one. And secondly, more from their own growth and learning perspective, the role of recruiter has changed. Today, recruiters need to be data analysts, they need to be marketer, they need to look at the market insights, they need to understand technology, not just about doing a control C, control V search, but really understand the whole dynamics of it. So how do they learn themselves, keep themselves along with the competition, along with where they can add a value? I always say the recruiters needs to be marketeers with hunting sales skills, but still be human at the end of the day. So how do they evolve and be relevant, and as we said, be strategic to the business and to candidates to win the war of talent?
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having all of you here, and thank you for sharing all your thoughts. All of you are famous in your own domains, but be prepared for a barrage of LinkedIn requests now that your footage is out all of your pack. Thank you once again.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having us. Thank you.